Thank you very much. That introduction sounded a lot more exciting than my talk. But as a macroeconomist, I think a lot about how incomes of countries grow. But over the past 2 years, myself and colleagues at the World Bank have been thinking a lot more about how climate impacts on Indonesia's income, but also how Indonesia generates its income impacts on the climate. My main message to you today is that this focus on income is very important because, not just because it keeps me in a job, but because it helps to grow countries richer. But income is not enough. What we also need to focus on is wealth. Income is like your paycheck. It's the regular flow of resources that we receive on a regular basis, whereas your wealth is the stock of savings or the stock of the things that you own. So your income is like GDP. It's like your paycheck, your regular paycheck. But your wealth is your home, your car, and in the context of the country, it's infrastructure or human capital. Now, why is this important? This is important because just because you are rich and you have a lot of income, it does not necessarily make you wealthy, right? But wealth is important if you want to remain rich or become rich. Now, an easier way to think about it is to think about how we spend our money on food. I love food, but I really struggle sometimes between picking something that is healthy and something that is delicious. So let's pick nasi goreng and salad. Now, I know that the nasi goreng will be tastier. It will make me feel full. It might also give me a short burst of energy. But I also know that the salad will keep me awake, including for this afternoon's TED Talk. It's healthier. The nutrition will give me more energy, but the nutrition will also make me physically stronger. So the energy you can think of as the income. And making you physically stronger is your wealth, right? If you are healthy, you are wealthy. You will be able to run faster over a longer distance, and you will also be better protected against illnesses. And the same thing applies when you think of the fuel that is used to generate growth in an economy and generate income in an economy. It will impact on your income, it will impact on your wealth, and it will impact on your ability to absorb shocks. So I wanted to share with you a few examples of this idea of how income is generated impacts on wealth and income, drawing on examples that were in a report that my colleagues and I worked on over the last 2 years on climate and development in Indonesia. So the first example relates to the agriculture sector. Between 2008 and 2017, there was a lot of peatland that was converted into agriculture land. That conversion generated a lot of agricultural production. In fact, we estimate that agriculture income increased by around $48 billion over this period. But the conversion of that peatland into agricultural land also involved burning down of forests, which created smoke, which created pollution, which in turn had costs for both the environment and our health. So the point I'm trying to make is that where your income came from impacted both on how rich you actually are and how wealthy you are. So you're not as rich as you originally thought, and your wealth has also been eroded, which impacts your ability to become rich in the future. Now, this is the reason why the government has really tightened land management policies and reduced deforestation by nearly 80%. And this is a good example of shifting mindsets from income to wealth. Another example is relating to pollution. Pollution has been in the news a lot recently, and we estimate that the amount of pollution in the country can reduce your life expectancy between anything from 1 to 4 years. It can also make you sick, which makes you less able to work. That also impacts on your labor income. And the estimated reduction in labor income per year from these effects is around $6 billion. And you might think, well, $6 billion in a $1.5 trillion economy is not that much. But that $6 billion affects the poor people more because they are less able to protect themselves from the effects of pollution. Now, it's not just a question of how you generate your income, but once you made your income, how you invest that income also matters a lot to both your wealth and your income. So let me give you two examples. The first example is how the government spends its tax earnings on subsidies for fuel. Now, those subsidies to fuel are spent to help households, to make the cost of fuel much less. But an alternative, because when you reduce the cost of fuel, it actually benefits the better off households more because they consume more fuel. So an alternative is to increase the price of fuel and use the savings that the government makes from the increased price in fuel because you have to pay less subsidies and channel it to social protection, which is more targeted to the poor. And that is what the government, in fact, did in 2014, 2015. If you see the orange line, that is the reduction in fuel subsidies. That helped to increase the amount of spending on social protection. And we estimate that this increase in social protection helps to reduce poverty 6 times more than the equivalent spending on fossil fuel subsidies. But then you might tell me that if you increase fuel prices, then companies' costs will also increase, right? Because they have to buy fuel. And if their cost increases, then they will pass on that cost to us, the consumers. So when we purchase, we'll have to purchase at a higher price. But if we purchase at a higher price, then we will be consuming less. And then the company will make less profits. They might hire less workers. And as a result, labor income might fall. But our study actually shows exactly the opposite. When energy prices increase, let's say, for example, when you impose a carbon tax, the mindset of companies also change because they are investing more in technology that reduces the use of energy for a given amount of production, right? So this carbon tax or the increase in the price of energy helped to change mindsets among companies. And that made them more efficient, enabled them to generate more profits, and employ more people. Does this all sound too good to be true? Well, when we bring it all together and look at what happens at a macro level, what we find is that Indonesia can both take climate action, which reduces emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and become richer at the same time. And this is what this chart illustrates. How? Because as you shift mindsets towards more cleaner energy, you're also developing new industries. The government is also earning more tax revenue, which it can invest in infrastructure, health, education, which helps to build the wealth of the country. I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, because Indonesia is in a region and in an environment where other countries are emitting greenhouse gases. So does it make sense for me to be eating my salad in the smoking part of the restaurant? My answer, of course, is yes. The reason is that we need to convince the smokers to stop smoking because it's good for their health, but also good for my health. And I want to lead by example. So what is my call to action? Changing this mindset from income to wealth will require government policies. Government policies that incentivize to think about wealth as much as we do about income. And that's not just about green policies. Of course, green policies matter. We need to invest in renewable energy. We need to invest in land, better land management. We need to invest in electric vehicles. But what matters also are development policies. Let me go back very briefly to my example on the salad. It's not enough to grow salad and just put it on the menu. You need to make it more affordable, more accessible, more profitable to produce. And that requires development policies, fiscal policies, financial sector policies, infrastructure, trade policies, all policies that are important for development, not just for the climate. So, climate action is important for development, but development action is also important for the climate. So who is ready to join me for a salad? Thank you very much.